Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be out of this world due to the fact that we will be talking about one of gaming's first ever major female protagonists. The last warrior of the Chozo, Ridley's Bane, and the Galactic Federation's best choice for a bounty hunter, Samus Aran of the Metroid series. A woman of few words, but of great skill, especially with her arm cannon, taking on galactic threats with fierce determination. The First Lady of gaming has set the standard for so many countless female protagonists, and it remains a major part of Nintendo's library, even with certain more questionable decisions made by the company nowadays. So let's go ahead and take a look at her history and origins. Samus Aran, the central protagonist of Nintendo's series, is a renowned intergalactic bounty hunter known for her advanced power suit and her relentless fights against cosmic threats. Born on the peaceful colony K2L, Samus spent her early years with her family and a thriving frontier community. Her life changed forever when the space pirates, led by the dragon-like Ridley, attacked the colony while searching for the rare fuel of a fluorite. The raid destroyed K2L, killed her parents, and left Samus as the sole survivor. Rescued from the devastation, Samus was found by the Chozo, an ancient and highly advanced avian species, seeing her potential and wanting to ensure her survival. The Chozo brought her to the homeworld of Zebes. There, they adopted her, infused her with their DNA, and enhanced her physical abilities with exceptional strength, agility, and resilience. They also built the first version of her iconic power suit, designed to interface directly with her altered physiology. As Samus grew older, she trained intensely under the Chozo in combat, survival, and technology. Her upbringing on Zebes shaped her into one of the galaxy's most formidable warriors. Eventually, she would join the Galactic Federation, seeking purpose and a chance to use her abilities for greater good. Although she formed strong connections during her service, she ultimately left to become an independent bounty hunter, allowing her the freedom to choose missions aligned with her values. Throughout the Metroid series, Samus becomes deeply connected with the parasitic Metroids. Initially tasked with destroying them, she repeatedly faces the space pirates' attempts to harness the creatures as a biological weapon. Her adventures would take her across hostile planets, abandoned stations, and ancient ruins, while uncovering hidden truths about the Metroids and the Chozo. These battles would cement her status as a near-mythic protector of the galaxy. Samus's journey is one of loss, resilience, and constant evolution. She grows not only through her upgrades to her power suit, but through emotional and moral trials that deepen her character. As she uncovers more about her Chozo heritage, confronts old foes like Ridley, and faces cosmic threats, Samus remains one of gaming's most iconic heroes, a lone warrior shaped by her past, yet always pressing forward into the unknown. Now we're at the part of the video where I talk about my personal thoughts and opinions of the character. Now, first question we always got to ask, how was I introduced to the character? And I think, like with many people, they were mainly introduced to a lot of different Nintendo characters through Smash Brothers. And for me, I was introduced to her through Brawl, and of course later on when I started legally playing or emulating Smash 64, I got introduced to the character. And so, but what actually brought me into the series itself was actually a gentleman by the name of Some Call Me Johnny. And I remember watching a lot of his older Metroid reviews, and then eventually watched some of the later reviews that he had for the later games that came out that would bring me into the series. And so one day I decided, hey, he mentioned trying out Metroid Fusion. I did that. I played through it. I didn't beat it, but I really enjoyed those moments of, let's say, interaction between her and Adam here and there, and then her inner monologue was interesting as well. And seeing that character brought as not only just a silent protagonist, it introduced me to more of like, okay, she's more of an introspective character, she's more of this and this and this, and we get to find out more later on. Of course, I know they have like a manga for it that expands upon it, because it's like based off of a little bit of Zero Mission, if y'all haven't played that, which I did play that a little bit later on, which is just a remake of the original Metroid. And then of course would go on to play the original on the NES Mini, and then play Super Metroid on the SNES Mini. By the way, those things are still really cool, and I'm glad people still remember them. I personally do. But that brings us to our next question. What do I enjoy about the character? It's the moments of character that, especially with the later games, to where she has these subtle gestures that show some character. And through aspects of gameplay, you can kind of see that, okay, there's some more character here and there. Like, for instance, in Metroid Prime, if you want to get 100%, you have to make sure to scan just about everything around you. And what that tells me about Samus is, she tends to want to know everything about the place that she's in. She wants to find out more and more, and then alongside try to find out some more information about the Chozo and what all happened on the planet that they interacted on. And so, and of course, as in, Metroid Prime 2, she goes to a different planet that looking at what was the species name, the Luminoth, and taking a look at there, and then of course getting that really interesting intro where like a bunch of these like Federation troops just get killed and then revive through the Ing or whatever, and they start fighting Samus or whatever. But it's like, you have these moments to where you just scan that and you don't really think about it, because it's like, okay, why am I scanning all this stuff? Why am I taking all this time to scan for 100%? Think about this. It's her wanting to not only know about the place and find out more about the Chozo, but it's like she's trying to understand what all went down to get it to that point. And I forgot the name of the planet that she's on in Prime, but it's like she spends time trying to understand this place, not just because of its Chozo origins, but it's also like there's more to there. There's more in that space, and I might be kind of stretching it, but it just almost seems like that's an aspect of her character, that she's curious, that she's wanting to learn more. Another thing that I really do enjoy about the subtleness that she has, she does not need to speak in order to show off who she is. She doesn't need to say anything to prove who she is. I mean, especially through the actions of the game, it's like she's a very proficient fighter. She's a proficient warrior. And so, on top of not only being a proficient warrior, she also has a very kind side to her, especially when it came to the baby Metroid. Oh boy. The baby. We'll talk about that in a minute. But how she didn't take the time to just kill the little guy after beating the Queen Metroid in Metroid Prime 2. Metroid 2 is a very very interesting thing, because it shows a little bit of the kindness that the Chozo showed her even after losing her family. And so, like I said, we don't get a whole lot, but the stuff that we do get is very subtle and interesting, and I like that kind of storytelling, and it can work, especially for a character like her. But when you got a character, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a rabbit trail here. When you get a character like, let's say, how can I put this? Oh man, no. When you get characters, someone that like, who's a lot more talkative and a lot more, I guess, introspective, I guess would be the word. I don't know if that's an actual word. And we only get moments of like, them talking here and there. You kind of want to find out why they're this way or something like that. I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to put this. It's like subtle character writing doesn't really work for a character that talks a lot. Like, unless if it's for like emotional depth. When it comes to someone like Samus, who doesn't really speak all that much, only has those moments of introspection, and I know, hey, don't worry, I haven't forgot the elephant in the room, Other M. I know, she talked a lot, a whole lot in that. But it amazes me how subtlety can be really good for storytelling, because you don't have to necessarily tell a whole lot, because a lot of the time when you tell and tell and tell and tell and tell, it just doesn't work all the time. It just depends on how the story is framed and how it works for the character itself, because she is this bounty hunter that goes from place to place, figuring out more about the Chozo, figuring out who she is, what she's going to have to do next, and then on top of still save the galaxy. And when you have a character who just talks all the time, who just says all this different stuff in a series that isn't known for that, and I'm going to talk about it too, I know Metroid Prime 4 has a character like that, it just doesn't work, especially as a main character. But if it's like a side character, that's a different thing. It's like, but what I do enjoy, another thing that I do enjoy is how they don't really waste your time with trying to explain who she is. It's just the gestures, it's those moments of time where we get to see more of her character through her actions, more of her character through certain bits of story, but also get an understanding of who she is, especially when it comes to Metroid Fusion, where we get a little bit more of that introspection, get more of that moments of time where she's trying to figure out what the Federation is doing on that space station, trying to understand, like, okay, they got to be doing something malicious or something, you know. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what I don't like about the character. I think we're going to mainly just talk about Other M here, because it's like, if she is not written right, it just comes off weird. Especially like trying to give her dialogue and be this. And I don't blame the voice actress, because she was just given something that was not great. And the way she read it was like, she was trying to be serious. It was just like a parody of a serious character almost. And so that begs the question. It's like, why did Other M didn't work? It's because the way they handled her, they made her very pathetic, they made her very submissive to, and the derogatory submissive, I'd say. Submissive in a sense, which I'm still trying to understand what it means positively. But it's like, the negative connotation of submissive is always going under an authority figure regardless of what happens, and that's what she does throughout the film. She's this independent bounty hunter that's supposed to be well knowledged and fought so many different people. Why is she following orders of this one guy that she left to go do her own thing? Why is she doing that? And then also, on top of a really stupid reason to reset her all the way down from her previous upgrades, is turning them off because she's just... because her former commanding officer is telling her, you don't need to be doing that. And there's only one moment in the game where it's like, okay, I'm not going to listen to Adam and I'm going to turn this on because I need it right now. And having all these different upgrades to where she has to get permission to get access to these upgrades she already has access to, is so stupid. It's like, that is not Samus at all. That is just like a weird modified parody of a serious character. And you would think, if she saw that, if she heard, like, okay, you're going to need to turn off all these upgrades, I'm like, you'd think it'd be the exact opposite. I'm like, no, I'm going to use these upgrades regardless. And it's a stupid reason to restart gameplay. Because, like, look, if story and gameplay don't mesh well, it makes no sense. It just makes the game not fun. And so, I mean, I know people have complained about it over and over again. Heck, even some Call Me Jomini complain about Other M, about that. And there's certain aspects about Other M that's cool, that's really interesting. I mean, we got the opportunity to actually meet Adam, which is, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks, though, because they make him like this empty, ridiculous character. The whole thing, and it doesn't, and you just don't. And her interactions with his interaction with Samus is just ridiculous. It's just, man. One other thing that we can just kind of take a look at that's like outside of Other M is, I think, honestly, and I think this is just more of a nitpick on my end, but it's like the lack of introspection in the other games as well. Because like with Metroid Fusion, we had those moments where she's actually talking to herself and trying to figure things out. And I genuinely, and I'm not saying we need like a whole cutscene of her just having, you know, a chat with herself, or just sitting in an elevator and talking for 5 minutes, and then every time you keep having this elevator. I'm just saying, like, we need moments of where, like, okay, this, and this. Why is this like this? And still trying to figure out everything and talk about her frustration. Stuff like that. That kind of introspection to where it makes sense, to where people enjoy it, and it's not unwelcome. It's not unwarranted. It's there. It's on purpose. So that brings us to our next question. Is Samus in a better place than she was? Arguably, I'd say yes, but only to a degree. Because with the way that Nintendo has handled the series, it's like they're kind of scared of really using her. They rather play it safe. Like, they rather be pushing out Mario or Kirby, which they've been doing, or Donkey Kong and stuff like that, and trying to, and I think it's more so how Japan does things. It's like trying to push the envelope on certain things is not going to work. Although arguably, when it comes to like anime and manga, there's a lot of stuff that they push the envelope on. But when it comes to Nintendo, they don't really push the envelope a whole lot. They don't experiment as much as they did. They don't really do a whole lot. They rather keep it kind of safe and not really change anything. But when you got a series like Metroid or Zelda, or that's more story driven, it's like you want to take as much time with that, and it almost seems like they're not confident in their storytelling ability. Because, like, they have had these really great stories from the past. I mean, for any Zelda fan, they tell you, like, there's some great storytelling throughout Twilight Princess, throughout The Wind Waker, throughout of course, the newer titles as well. What was it? Breath of the Wild and its sequel, Tears of the Kingdom. They have all these great moments of character dialogue and everything, which is just, it's great. And so, when it comes to, and I really do think it's Other M's kind of the reason why they don't really do a lot of that, because it's just like the way that people react a lot of the time can be a problem, which is, it's true for anything that you like. I mean, even Star Wars is a mess nowadays. Any fandom's gonna be like that, and so trying to be safe and trying to not do too much to risk possibly angering some people, even though they're still gonna do it anyway, regardless if it's safe or risky or not. It's just I don't know. We're at a better point in time where people are still getting a chance to see the character, but it's also like, at the same time, we're still not getting as much as we think we are. I mean, it took them about, when did they announce Metroid Prime 4? I think it was like 2022? And it took them that long to figure out how to get this game released. It took them that long. Like, were they not that confident in the game at all? Because, like, they've always had these moments in time where they've actually cut projects to where it's like, okay, this is not good. We need to, you know, get rid of it. But it's like, and that's just about any other game production company, especially when it comes to Konami. That's a whole rabbit hole that I'm not going to get into. But to get back to the question, is she in a better place now than she was? Yes, especially with Dread. Dread did a wonderful job of explaining a lot of different things through character moments, through speaking with that Chozo and speaking Chozo to that character, and seeing that is great. Now that also brings us to our last question at the section of the videos. What do I hope to see? Honestly, I hope to see just more moments of time where we can see her have more introspection, have some interaction with the characters, have some sort of, how can I say this? Have something to where she feels human, but yet also still that same legend at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, when you see a hero, you want to be able to feel for them. You want to put yourselves in your shoes. So with a character like her, you want to feel for her. You want to be able to understand certain things, but still see that same really cool character. And that was the problem with Other M. It tried to do that, but it just didn't do a good job of it. And so that also begs the question, what kind of games are we wanting to see? For myself, I want to see more story-driven games like Prime. I want to see more games to where, and not only story-wise it makes sense, gameplay-wise it makes sense as well, because it makes sense, okay, this is how she gets this, and so in turn she's able to use it in-game, and not just make the upgrades just an upgrade, like make it, give us some payoff with it, I guess, if that makes sense. Because like upgrades a lot of the time can sometimes feel contrived and feel like, okay, now you can do this to do this. And so I think with some of the other Metroidvanias that we've seen, it's like they've been able to do that, where you get this upgrade to where it's like, okay, now you have this ability, now take it to go over here to expand upon more here and there, and then I don't know. I'm just trying to roll some ideas in my head, and then I think one other thing I hope to see is I hope they do her better than they did. Not only in Other M, but also give her a moment to just be that character and not just be that caricature. You know? That she's not just based off of like this serious parody of a character. You know what I mean? And just makes her story worthwhile. happy to see that Samus is finally getting a chance to have some more exposure, despite the company's missteps, especially when it comes to some of their legal stuff. I hope to see more Metroid games and more opportunities for the character to grow and expand the universe's lore as well. New stories, new adventures, new generations of fans to see this character move forward and hopefully help the franchise move forward.